All righty, everyone. It looks like we are live, and I'm ready for another Career Alchemy live broadcast where I bring you all of my thoughts about women connected to tech and their job search and their career transformations and their challenges and their opportunities and all of the different things that are circling around in my world. And today, what we're going to talk about is the number one counterintuitive, and I have lots of number one counterintuitive uh, pieces of advice, but this job search, counterintuitive job search is advice is a way to get more interviews, especially when you're stuck. But before I do that, I just want to acknowledge myself. I'm celebrating 31 years of sobriety, and I wear this necklace. It'll be hard to see, I'm sure, on Zoom, but it was my great grandmother's. And it's a gold ball with a little silver rim on it. And if you could see inside of there, you'd see that there is a very, very small mustard seed. And so, though I'm not a churchgoer, but I do know that there is, um, the somewhere in the Bible, it says something about having the faith of a mustard seed. And so I feel honored that I have this, my great grandmother's necklace that my father gave to me. And I feel privileged that I have 31 years of sobriety under my belt. And I always celebrate the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday. So if you know anything about AA or NA or any of the 12-step programs, there's usually have your date, right? But I never had a specific date. I always just celebrated my sobriety the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday, because that was the day after quite a few days of celebrating the Super Bowl, but that Monday was the day, I like to say, the miracle happened, where after many, many chops of the axe, I was able to, release that addiction and be at peace. Really, the struggle was lifted, and if I had to look to myself at all, it was my persistence, and that I kept, I didn't want to continue to be in my addictive behaviors, and I would go back, and then I would get out of them, and then I would go back. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about, that desire to be free of that struggle and free of those addictions, and what feels like the inability to sustain it. And so if I were to look to my own, um, ways that I impacted it, it was that I kept trying and kept looking for different ways, and therapy and personal growth work and reading books and going to meetings and, um, you know, nutrition, so many different things, right? Um, and but I do know that it really felt like one day I was struggling and still in it, and woke up the next day and it was gone. And I don't know what else to say about that, but that is what happened for me. And so if you're struggling, it can happen for you. And today, this Tuesday, but the day after my Super Bowl Sunday, Monday, my Super Monday, I guess I'll call it. I just want to raise a glass of water to all of you out there who are have been celebrating their own years of sobriety, to all of you who are sober curious and what that might mean for you, to all of you that have that deep desire, have been on your knees praying for release. I raise a glass to you as well of water, and raise my and to all those who support those who are sober, or getting sober. You know, keep going if it can happen for you, and keep on the path if you're on the path, and keep supporting those with love and compassion and patience and tough love too. Um, and know that in their heart of hearts, and I truly believe this, they want to be clean and sober. And so that's just me and my great grandmother coming to you today with that. Before we get started with our regularly scheduled program, I just wanted to say that out loud, that, good job, Lori, and all that have supported you both in this plane and in the spiritual world, in the outer planes. All of that, I couldn't have done it without you. So now on to the one of my many number one counterintuitive job search advice. This one in particular is related to getting more interviews. So I'm running this Get More Interviews challenge right now. I've talked about it. We are 5 weeks into the 10, or 5 calls into the 10 calls, but we are halfway through the 30-day challenge. And I have to say, it's been just a joy to watch these people go after a challenge, set a big, bold goal that pushes them outside of their comfort zone, and see what we're, I think we don't often know, and this is so apropos, given I was just talking about sobriety, what we're capable of and what's on the other side of just pushing past our comfort zone and seeing what's there and doing what's necessary to expand our capacity to do even more. And eventually that capacity just becomes like the everyday. And then we challenge ourselves to go further, right? So inside of the Get More Interviews, I was coaching one of the women who was struggling a bit with her challenge, her goal, and they have different goals inside of there. Many are to get more interviews, some are to get more pages written in their book, some are to get more conversations with potential customers, the Get More challenge. But in this particular case, I was talking with one of the women who and coaching her around her goal of getting more interviews. And I told the story about my beginnings as a recruiter, right? So recruiting really is a sales job. And make no mistake, if you're on a job search, that's also a sales journey. That's why this completely relates, because you are on a sales journey. You have your cover letter and your LinkedIn profile and your resume, all of these marketing materials that are bringing awareness to you like any marketing brochure would. And then you, and don't take offense, the product are, these marketing materials are trying to raise the awareness of you in the marketplace so that you can be seen, noticed, and hopefully selected to interview for a particular job that fits in line with what you're looking for, right? And so when I was in recruiting, every morning we would have a meeting where we would talk about our achievements from the previous day. And because we were salespeople, we were talking about things like, how many interviews did you get people on? How many new people did you talk to and talk to them about beginning a job search? And, so how many new people did you talk to? How many new companies did you talk to? How many of them did you get to sign the agreement so that we could work on their searches, right? How many offers did you get? So we had these measurable numbers that we were, trying to achieve. And every morning we'd go around the room and everyone would talk about their results from the day before. And I always had great results when it came to things like how many people I talked to and how many interviews I was able to get people on, and even offers eventually. I got good at closing deals and getting offers accepted. But what I wasn't so great at was reaching out to companies and getting them to agree to work with us. And so my boss, sat me down and he's like, okay, what's going on? You know, you're killing it over here. So why aren't you getting more job orders in the door? Why aren't you getting more jobs that the team can work on in the door? Why isn't that happening? And I was like, oh my gosh, every time I call, they say no. And I'm just tired of the no. I don't want to feel rejected, right? Um, and so as I was talking to the folks inside of the Get More Interviews Challenge, I'm like, it's the same thing, right? We don't want to feel rejected, so we don't put ourselves out there as much. And then truth bomb, like the counterintuitive, you know, job interview, well, for me, advice that my boss gave me was, hey, he said, you've got the wrong goal. He said, you're trying to go out and get these people to say yes. He said, I want to shift your goal. And this wasn't true for everybody, but it worked really well for me. He said, I want to shift your goal. He said, instead of going for yeses, why don't we go for nos? Let's just see how many phone calls you can make and how many people can reject you. And I was like, I knew instantly that was perfect for me. I could feel my energy shift. I'm like, oh, so this becomes a game. And if you know Lori, I love my games. And I'm like, so I'm going to be in this game of seeing how many no's I can get, right? And then, of course, as I'm getting more and more no's and not afraid of no's. So number one, the first thing that happens is, I'm back on the phone. Like I'm not holding myself back. I'm not fearing rejection, but I'm embracing it. And so my numbers go up, just the number of dials I'm making into companies to be like, hey, I see you have an opening posted. Can we help you fill that job? I just was, and when they said, no, we're all set, I'd be like, okay, chalk up another no for me, right? Yes, yes, let's celebrate. But of course, eventually what happens is because I'm no longer afraid of the no, because my activity has now gone up, I'm starting to get yeses and I'm learning how to be with the yeses, right? And so this was the advice I gave inside of the Get More Interviews Challenge. Is I said, for some of you, perhaps the goal isn't to see how many people will say yes to your application, but instead, how many applications can you get out there so that you can collect no's? And again, that just, shifts, it increases your activity. And that's really what it's a numbers game. When you're in sales, it's a numbers game. It's a relationship building game too, if you want to call it a game, but it's also an opportunity to solve problems game. There's lots to it, but one of the biggest things is you just got to let people know you're out there. You just got to raise the awareness of you in the marketplace and that you could be a solution to their problem, right? And so if you've been struggling with like a stalled job search, or you feel yourself like in the beginning, which always happens, you are like applying, and then you've noticed like when you have to even sit down at your desk to start applying, your energy dips. If you've noticed all of that, what I would say to you is you're going after the wrong goal. Let's shift your goal and make it like, how many applications can I do so that I can see how many no's I can get? And then, because all you're trying to do is get people to respond with no, and we know sometimes they don't respond at all, but the number of yeses right now, I would say, are probably less than the no's, especially if you found yourself having less activity. So let's just get that activity up, go after getting no's. And that could also be, asking people to introduce you to people. How many no's can you get there? Asking people to consider you, to invite you to an interview. You can see how many no's you can get there. Like, let's just collect no's. And added bonus that I'm going to talk about next week, which I've been working on this blog for next week. Just before I came on here, I was finishing up the final touches, and I'm super psyched about it because I get to talk about my daughter's cat Miso. So that's what's fun. And how does that relate to what we're talking about today? You're just going to have to wait and see till next week. Our LinkedIn Live is, let me check. Um, it is a little earlier next week. So it's at 11:30 Central Time instead of 1 o'clock normal time, because I'm going to an event later in the day. So plan on that. You can always sign up for my newsletter and you'll get sort of an expanded version of this. It's what I say is sort of the same, but often I go off on tangents here on LinkedIn Live with some other information or things that just didn't fit well into the blog / newsletter when I was writing it. So you can sign up for the newsletter, make sure you're getting it. If you go into resources, career blog, I think it is, or Inspirations is the name of my blog. So career blog, sign up there. Of course, we always put it below in LinkedIn, so you can read them there at some point. Sign up to receive the newsletter. In LinkedIn, you can sign up to receive the newsletter. So do that. And what else can I say about, I guess I would just say to just try it. Like, whatever you've been trying to get people to say yes to, go after no's instead. So whatever that is. And because rejection can lead to job offers. That's all there is to it. Rejection, no's can lead to your next offer. So that's it for today. Peace out as always. Celebrate yourself if you are sober curious, working doing everything you can think of to get sober, or supporting the sober curious and those working so hard to release and have that struggle lifted. Just my strength goes out to you, my inspiration goes out to you, my courage goes out to you. Please receive that. And also I receive it back. So that's it for today. Talk to you soon.